Welcome to all of our new families for our entering class of 2026. We're happy that you're here. Again, my name's Elizabeth Morgan, and the way that I like to frame my responsibility in presentations like this is you think about the Office of Admission. Their job is to get your student in. My job is to get your student out. So we're going to talk now about how that happens, and I'll give you a brief PowerPoint on the academic requirements of college. So bear with me as I'll launch my slideshow. Make sure you can all see. Do you have the opening screen there, Janie? Yes, all right, thank you very much. So framing up this presentation, I want to let you know that we are engaged in a process here at CMC to advance our students in a journey towards self-authorship. This is a stage of adult development that those of you who are familiar with developmental psychology may have encountered before, where we're helping our students transition into a phase of adulthood where they are more self-focused, more independent, more able to solve problems, and more internally driven than externally driven. And part of that process involves their coursework here at the college. The coursework that they'll take in their general education curriculum and in their majors and in their elective coursework is designed to help advance them through these stages of self-authorship where they will become more independent, more self-driven, and less focused on external motivations, more internally motivated. So the context for that is really just to sort of frame up the broader purpose of the general education requirements and the academic program at the college. So I'm going to frame up this particular presentation with just broad brush strokes about what everybody has to do to earn a bachelor's degree from CMC. In order to earn that credential, students must complete 32 semester length courses. We call them course units here at CMC. And that works out to 4 courses per term for 8 terms. And then students should be able to get out in a total of 4 years. If a student takes additional credit over the summer, they can graduate with more than 32 units. If they overload, they're not limited to 32 units, but 32 units is the bare minimum required for the credential. And among those 32 units, students need to complete a set of general education requirements, at least 1 major, and a set of electives. So we're going to focus today primarily on the general education requirements because they are the requirements that are particular to everyone. Everybody's got to do your GEs. And then students will start to differentiate in their academic trajectories in different majors with different flavors of credentials that are appropriate to their personal choices and their internal motivations. The general education curriculum at CMC looks like this, very broadly. Students have to take a pair of first-year seminars. They have to satisfy the competency requirement in foreign language. They need 1 course in math or computer science, 1 laboratory natural science course, 2 courses in the humanities, and 3 in the social sciences, which must be outside their major area of study. They also need to take physical education courses, which can be satisfied by team sports or ROTC. And then finally, they need to complete a senior thesis. So we're going to start by breaking these down into their component parts. The first year seminars include a writing seminar and a humanities seminar. The writing seminar is designed to really intensively focus in an intimate setting with the faculty member, the student's ability to engage in college level academic writing. And those writing seminars tend to be quite small. They're usually 12 or 13 students. So students get an enormous amount of interaction and they get practice with revision and argument and style and graceful writing. In the humanities seminars, students have an opportunity to study something a little bit more specific, and they're topical depending on the faculty member's expertise. There are a variety of humanities seminars with lots of different instructors tackling different areas of specialization. And students have choice in what they're going to schedule, what they're going to take. These tend to be a little bit larger, but they're still rather small by college and university standards. They tend to be around 16 or 17 students. And students take one of these two courses in their first semester, and they take the one they didn't take in the first semester and the second semester. It does not matter which one they take first. So one per term, one in writing, one in the humanities, and students have choice over both. Students also must demonstrate their competency in a foreign language. And the language requirement at CMC is specifically a competency requirement. It is not necessarily a course requirement. And there are a variety of ways where students can demonstrate their competency in a language other than English. If a student's native language is something other than English, and they went to school and completed high school in a language other than English, we will afford them a native speaker waiver. We have placement exams for all of the students that are offered throughout the Claremont colleges in every language that we offer here: Spanish, French, Korean, Arabic, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, and Italian. And I may be forgetting something, but if your student has a background in any of those languages, they'll be available for students to take as part of the orientation process to complete a placement exam to see where they fall on the trajectory of their language placement. Students may also satisfy the requirement by completing a course. So they can take the placement exam and see where they belong in a language that they've had before. So for example, if a student has had 4 years of German, which is another language I think I neglected to mention that we offer placement exams in. If a student has had 4 years of German in high school, that student may very well place out of the requirement entirely, or they may place into the 3rd semester of the language. They don't have to take semester 1 and 2. They can go directly into semester 3 and then satisfy the requirement by the completion of that course. The college also accepts AP and higher level IB scores for languages if the students have completed those tests in person. So with a certain threshold of score, 4s or 5s in AP, 6s or 7s in the IB higher level languages, those will satisfy the requirement outright. And students who satisfy the language requirement through testing, exam, they are still welcome to take more courses in the language. So most of our students, for example, who would place into the 5th or the 6th semester of a language are quite good at it and might enjoy taking some more of it. And we encourage them to do so. And as we'll learn later, those upper level courses in language can also satisfy general education requirements for the students. In mathematics and computer science, students also have a choice. They can take any math course that's offered at CMC. So anything we offer qualifies toward the requirement. They can take any course in Calculus 1 or higher at any of the other sister institutions in Claremont. So if a student is appropriately placed in Calculus 2 or Calculus 3, they can take that at Pomona or they can take that at Scripps. As long as there's a seat for them in that course, they're welcome to satisfy the requirement with a calculus series course at one of the other colleges. And finally, they can take any computer science course offered at any of the Claremont colleges. And those computer science courses are offered at Pomona, Harvey Mudd, CMC, and Pitzer. Scripps tends not to offer them, but there's such a huge demand for coursework in computer science that it wouldn't surprise me if they start offering it sometime in the near future. So any one of these options will satisfy the requirement for a student. And this is not a course requirement that can be demonstrated by competency. Students need to take a course. So if students have taken a placement exam like an AP exam or an IB exam, or they have a very high SAT score in mathematics, that might indicate their placement, but it doesn't satisfy the requirement. Students need to take a lab science course. This is a course in natural science with a laboratory, and it's offered by any of the natural or physical science departments in Claremont. Most CMC students will satisfy those requirements through our Keck Science department, and they'll take an introductory course in biology, chemistry, physics, environmental analysis, even astronomy. And those courses may be in something that we sort of refer parochially as natural science, where it doesn't have to be a course that a student takes as a science major. Students who are science majors will take care of this automatically. They don't need to worry about satisfying their science requirement because they're going to take it anyway if they're interested in pursuing a curriculum that involves science. It excludes any course that does not include a laboratory component. It excludes courses in engineering, psychology, computer science, data science, and any other words that might have like a cognitive science. Just because the word science appears in the title doesn't mean it satisfies this requirement. So it has to be something that is offered within the sciences departments that includes the study of the natural or physical world in a laboratory environment. In the humanities, students have to satisfy 2 courses in separate disciplines. They have some choice, and those disciplines must be outside their major. And the 4 disciplines in the humanities that we offer students include foreign literature. Foreign literature is literature in a language other than English, where students deal with prose, poetry, narrative, where it is not about language acquisition in the sense of grammar and syntax and vocabulary and structure, but rather where students are actually reading works of literature and discussing and writing about works of literature in a language other than English. And those specific courses arrive at different times in the trajectory depending on the language. So for European and classical languages, those start at the 4th semester, the 5th semester of Arabic or Korean, or the 6th semester of Japanese or Chinese. That's when students start reading books and discussing literature in those languages. Just depends on which, if you have to start by learning the alphabet, it's going to take a little longer than if you have a command of the alphabet already. Students may also choose a CMC course offered in our literature department, and any course in the literature department will qualify, including creative writing courses. Students can take any of our introductory courses at CMC in philosophy, or any religious studies course offered at CMC numbered under the junior seminar level. So this really leaves a vast variety of options open for students who are seeking to satisfy their humanities GE. And students need to remember, take these outside their major. So a student who may choose to major in philosophy, for example, would choose to take 2 of their humanities GEs from foreign literature, literature, and religious studies. They're welcome to take all 4, but they need to take a minimum of 2 outside the major. And the same principle of applying that outside the major idea applies in the social sciences. So students who are taking courses in the social sciences have 4 options for general education. They take a course in economics. It's typically Principles of Economics Analysis, which all of our students know as Econ 50. Nobody really here talks about, oh, who is your instructor for Principles of Economic Analysis? No, they ask, who's your Econ 50 instructor? So Econ 50 is the standard Econ GE. Students with appropriate background may place up into a higher level of economics. In government, students must take the introductory course, Introduction to American Politics, which all of our students know only by its code Gov20. So students take Gov20 and only Gov20. It's the only course that satisfies the general education requirement in government. Students have no option to take a comparative or international course. They do not get to place out of it from an AP exam or anything like that. Everybody takes Gov20. And in history, students have the entire curriculum that's offered by our CMC history department. Any CMC history course qualifies, and any intro-level psychology course qualifies as well. And those CMC introductory psychology courses include, of course, the basic introductory psych course. They also include organizational psychology and developmental psychology and any of the other sub-disciplines like social or things that are not particularly intro. So if a student has already had an intro course and wants to have a little bit more depth, they could take one of the other lower level psych courses offered under 100. And of course, CMC was founded by the Marines, a bunch of former Marines built on the GI Bill, and these individuals valued physical activity. And we still have a physical education requirement. PE is non-credit. Students can take as much of it as they want. It's also pass, no pass grading. So there's no impact to a student's grade point average, but they still have the option to take either 3 activities or 2 seasons of a varsity or club sport. Students who participate on an athletic team for either varsity or club, they will register for that course and they'll satisfy it automatically. But students have to register for that course. The coach doesn't register for you. The student, it's not like we just happen to know in the registrar's office that you're competing on a team. You need to sign up for the sport that you play. And the sports, even those that bridge more than one semester, are typically only offered in one term. So a student who is going to be a swimmer, for example, will enroll in swimming for the spring. If they're going to be, say, men's soccer, that's a fall sport, they'll sign up for it in the fall. Students who are ROTC cadets will enroll in their physical training for ROTC, and that automatically satisfies the PE requirement. And we have options galore. There are hundreds of PE activities offered at CMC or through what we call our joint PE program, and also through the Pomona-Pitzer program. So students can take everything from aerobics to Zumba. They can take meditation, they can take yoga, they can take spin classes, they can take weightlifting, they can take CPR. So one of the old lines I always offer our students in this orientation is, even if you don't consider yourself an athlete, even if you don't much enjoy physical activity, if you can sit still and breathe, you can take the meditation class and you can pass PE. Finally, students take a senior thesis. Nobody entering the college this fall needs to be worrying about their senior thesis today. They will complete this in their final year at the college, either for 1 or 2 semester project. It's in a topic related to the major, and it is a long format independent study that the student undertakes with the direction of a faculty member who teaches in their major. And students write all manner of intriguing, fascinating projects. And it's one of the highlights of the CMC general education curriculum that everybody looks forward to. And no one fears their senior thesis. So then a word about AP and IB placement. In mathematics, the Department of Mathematical Sciences offers placement based on a student's AP or IB scores. A student who has a 4 or a 5 in Calculus AB exams automatically places into Calculus 2. Students with a 4 or 5 on a BC exam automatically place into Calculus 3, which is our multivariable calculus course. Students who've already had multivariable calculus, they are welcome to place up even further. They can go into linear algebra or differential equations. Students who have a 5 on one of the AP English exams may discuss with the department chairperson in literature the option to take an upper level course in lit rather than taking their first year writing seminar. This is a replacement. It doesn't double count toward the humanities GE in literature, but students have that choice. Most of our students are truly best served by the first year writing seminar, though, because the writing seminar focuses intently on developing our students as writers and communicators. And the other literature courses will presume that students have already had that background, and there's typically less focus on development of students as writers, but there's more topical focus on the literature or the author that's being studied. In economics, students who have a combined AP score of 9 on both the macro and micro AP exams, or who have an IB higher level score of 7, may elect to move directly into Economics 101 or 102. 101 is our intermediate microeconomics course. 102 is our intermediate macroeconomics course. A warning to students who might elect this option: those courses, Econ 101 and 102, presume fluency with calculus of a single variable. So students who have a strong background in econ and did well on the AP exams in econ or the IB exam in econ, who do not feel confident in their calculus abilities, are best served by taking Econ 50 rather than electing into one of the upper level courses. And students who elect an upper level course might be on a trajectory to choose a major that includes economics. They should know that Econ 101 or 102 will not supplant the requirement for Econ 50 or the course that must be taken in that major, but they just get to take an extra one, an elective of something that they choose and they might prefer. We never want a student to move backwards and to be bored in class. That doesn't serve them, and it doesn't help them develop into those self-authored individuals we're trying to encourage here at the college. So students should take the course that finds them at the right balance of background and effort. So if they're absolutely underwater and feeling like this was a bad idea, they shouldn't have placed in this high, they don't know what's going on, they're in over their heads, then that's not the right course for you. If you feel like I've learned all of this before and I am bored to tears, that is not the right course for you. And staff in my office can help students find that sweet spot where they're going to be appropriately challenged. In psychology, students who have a score of 5 on the AP exam or 7 on the higher level IB exam may elect to substitute another course for intro in the psych major should they choose to major in psychology. They still need to take a psych GE, but they have that option to place up if they choose to major. In the languages, we actually offer credit, and that credit is equivalent to the 3rd semester of the language. It both grants 1 unit of coursework toward the 32 required toward graduation, and it satisfies the general education requirement in language. So students who intend to take further study in language or who place way out based on the placement exam, it's still in your best interest to have them send us their AP exams if they haven't already, because we could potentially give them a unit of credit. And it's always good to have a little extra credit in your back pocket. Students who have an AP score of 4 or 5 in chemistry or in physics may also get a unit of credit. It does not satisfy requirements toward graduation. It does not satisfy the requirement for the general education requirement in science, but it gives them a unit of credit. So credit is good. Send us your scores. Students must also then complete a major. You only need 1, and most majors at CMC are around 10 courses. Some may be as few as 9, some may be a couple more. Students must declare a major by the end of their sophomore year. They're welcome to start out undecided, pursue their general education curriculum, see what they like, see what they're good at, and start to see what drives them internally to find that thing that they want to pursue further. Students may continue to change or modify or add to their major curricula through the 10th day of their final semester. And most of our students, they do some experimentation. They may start out anticipating that they'd like to pursue a certain path, and then they take some coursework and find that it is not their cup of tea, or they may take something to satisfy a general education curriculum and discover that they love it, and whatever it is that happens in their college careers, they want to take more of that. And so they might choose to elect that discipline as a major because it's so compelling to them, or they may choose to pair these majors up. We have majors at CMC that come in a variety of flavors. Flavor number 1 is a single major. You complete 1 major, take all of the requirements in that major, and that's it. Students may also elect, if they have space for it in their curriculum, a double major. And a double major, sensibly, is that students take everything for 2 majors. And it's easier to do that if the majors are on the small side. Remember, they take 32 courses. If 1 major is about 10 courses and your other major is about 10 courses and your general education curriculum is about 10 courses, that doesn't leave a lot of room to move for electives or for just academic experimentation, satisfying your curiosities. We do offer a wonderful option called the dual major that allows students to decrement by 2 courses a double major in each discipline. So instead of taking 10 courses in econ and 11 courses in math, they would have 8 courses in econ and 9 courses in math. And it's much more achievable and leaves more room for the student to pursue other interests, to take some electives, or to simply pursue sequence or something that would be of interest to them. Students may also pursue an off-campus major, a major offered by one of the other colleges under 2 conditions, and you have to satisfy both of them. Off-campus majors are available, number 1, when CMC does not offer that major. So if, for example, CMC offers a major in mathematics, a student may not pursue a mathematics major through Scripps because we offer it. You take ours. If we offer something like it, students have to take the cognate major that is ours. For example, if a student is interested in majoring in political studies at Pitzer, we'd say, no, you major in government at CMC because the 2 political science disciplines have different names, but they're the same thing. They're just different names for the same thing. Now, if we don't offer it, such as a music major, a sociology major, an anthropology major, or major in computer science, a major in engineering, those majors are available at the other colleges if condition number 2 is met, which is that the sponsoring college will accept you into the major. And the other colleges have control over that decision. So CMC controls the decision about whether this major that you'd like to pursue at one of the other colleges is something you can pursue because we don't have it. And then the second question is up to that sponsoring college to see if they've got space for you in their curriculum. CMC also offers these peculiar little curricula called sequences. Sequences are kind of like minors. They tend to be interdisciplinary. They're not always, but there are 5 or 6 courses. Courses in those sequences can double count, and they tend to be available in things like ethics, Asian American studies, gender and sexuality studies, finance, leadership, or other topics that we don't have a fully fledged major in, with one exception, and that is data science. We offer both a data science major and a data science sequence. So students can take coursework that double counts in sequences, but courses in majors cannot double count across majors. And in the humanities and social sciences, neither may they double count with your general education courses. So this is the big picture summary, what we've all been working up to. 32 units, 4 courses a semester for 8 semesters. About a third of that is general education, about a third of that is major, and about a third of that is elective. If students choose to stack on more credentials and take dual majors and sequences or double majors and sequences, that means the student may have less freedom. And if the student is pursuing a credential at the expense of their own learning, at the expense of their own joy in that learning, the last thing we want is somebody who's a miserable double major, who never gets a chance to enjoy college, but has a double major when they graduate. It's a Bachelor of Arts degree either way. So we like the major to be at the sweet spot of the students' interests and aptitudes, what they like and what they're good at, what they would want to be taking anyway, even if they didn't have to. And for some students, that results in a dual or a double major or a major and a sequence. So they just need to be mindful about the finite nature of their time here and how much they can fit in and how much liberty they want in making those decisions about their own learning. We have all manner of academic support available for students. In addition to academic advisors who are among the faculty, we have the full staff of my office who's available to counsel students on their academic trajectories. We also have support centers in the Quantitative and Computing Lab, the Center for Writing and Public Discourse, and we have support in the CWPD for non-native English speakers, where those students can get longer appointments, more appointments with a specialist who is very good with students who are non-native English speakers. Through the Dean of Students Office, we have the Romero Success Coaches and connections to tutoring available within departments. We have wonderful workshops available through the Claremont College's library about bibliography and source development and research. And of course, we have great support available through accessibility services for students who need accommodations. So we have a great slate of services to help your students find their way through the curriculum and into the curriculum that best serves their needs. We also have a lot of resources on the web. If you start at the registrar's website, cmc.edu/registrar, and go to the degree requirements section, you'll find information in the catalog, you'll find checklists, all kinds of information about placement exams and we're happy to have you click away on the website and find things on your own. We try to resource it, but if there's a question there that you don't find answered, you're also welcome to contact my office directly. The best way to do that is to email registrar@cmc.edu, and a member of the team will respond to your question. So I also want to address that there are some common concerns that many parents come to this session with, and hopefully I will have addressed some of those, but the academic planning and decision-making is very hands-on at CMC. We have a lot of people to help support your student, but the student is ultimately the person who gets to make the plan and follow through on it. The student is the one who ultimately makes those choices and is responsible for the choices that they make. And we'll provide them with all kinds of resources, all kinds of help to see a variety of paths, but the path they choose is theirs. And the learning that they subsequently obtain along that path is theirs. We also have a wonderful career center, where the SALT Center for Student Opportunity, that will help students figure out what their potential futures look like after graduation and what kind of opportunities exist here for them to develop their interests in a future career through internships or fellowships or other opportunities that exist both on campus and off campus. Parents are also concerned about students overcommitting and trying to do it all, trying to do too much maybe, and making inappropriate choices about, the various opportunities, trying to decide, in true CMC fashion, that they're going to be super hyper ambitious and pursue every possible opportunity that comes along. And then they wind up carrying too heavy a load and becoming overwhelmed and having to set things down and regretting some of the choices that they made about taking on all of those opportunities. It's okay to be selective. And we have a lot of support here for students to help make those choices, and people that they can talk to about how they can prioritize and manage their time. Parents also tend to be a little concerned that their students are going to make appropriate social networks, that they're going to make the right friends, not just whether they'll make friends, but whether they'll make the right friends, not whether they'll have a roommate, but whether they'll have a good roommate. And, we will help them through finding those social networks. I mean, I'm 100% confident that your incoming student is already connected via some social media group to CMC students who are both coming in with them and are here already. They are very good at making friends and finding their respective tribes. Your students will make mistakes, as all young people do, as all adults do, along their journey. There are all kinds of support systems here to help your student recover from those mistakes and turn them into learning experiences and successes. And then parents also tend to be concerned about communication. And as you've already discovered from your interaction with the Office of Alumni and Parent Relations, if anything, we over-communicate with you. We will try to rope you in. We will try to get you involved. We'll try to make sure you have access to all the information you need. However, your student, if you have questions about how things work at CMC and what they need to do, your student is the person with whom you need to communicate first. This is helpful to your student to learn how things work at the college, to learn their path, to learn their trajectory, to learn where they go for the kind of assistance that they need, and also to take that ownership of their own academic trajectory at the college. So we will absolutely communicate with families and make sure that students have access to all of the information they need in order to find their way through. All right, so that's the sum up of my presentation. I'll now turn back to Jeannie and I'll stop the screen share and we'll begin to take some questions. Maybe Jeannie, you've been collecting them and can aggregate them for me.
Yes, I do have a few that have come in privately on the chat. So does the AP also give the student one course credit toward the 32 courses?
If it's an AP exam and they have a score of 4 or 5, and it's one for which we give credit, and those include languages, chemistry, and physics. Those are the only AP exams for which we give credit. In those cases, yes. If it's an AP exam in another discipline, they may be able to obtain placement, but not credit.
If the student places out of Econ 50, do they receive a credit toward the 32 courses?
No. CMC does not award credit for any of the AP or IB exams in economics, but that student may elect to take a more advanced course because they are duly prepared for it. If they have the combined score of 9 on the 2 exams, they can go to Econ 101 or 102 and bypass 50, but they do not earn credit for 50 along the way.
Can students earn credits over the summer?
Yes, students may earn credit over the summer. We have a fairly elaborate process of transfer credit pre-approval. So students should start with my office if they're interested in taking summer transfer courses. But broadly, yes, students may transfer in courses as long as they have them pre-approved. We don't want anybody spending their hard-earned money or time on summer session courses if they're not something we're going to bring back. So we want to make sure students are taking the right things. So we have a very engaged process for students to have their courses pre-approved prior to enrolling. So we always tell our students, before you give anybody any money, come see us and talk to us about what you want to do over the summer so that the course you take is indeed transferable.
That's important. Are all majors open to everyone, or are some selective with an application process?
There is only one major at CMC which has an application process, and that is our Philosophy, Politics, and Economics major, PPE. Students can apply for PPE at the end of their first semester of their sophomore year. And so they apply at the beginning of the sophomore year and they're selected near pre-registration for the second semester of the sophomore year. Otherwise, all majors are open to all students. Now, there is an application process for the computer science major at Harvey Mudd, and other colleges' processes may differ for consideration in an off-campus major, but for CMC, the only major that includes an application process is what we affectionately refer to as PPE. And that's not personal protective equipment, it's philosophy, politics, and economics.
Okay, how much room is there to explore electives? For example, if you take an elective and it ends up becoming the major, is there time to go back and take the necessary electives outside of the major?
The answer is yes. Students have plenty of room to move, broadly speaking. If a student begins their time at CMC believing themselves to, for example, be a major in biology, and they take 2 semesters of biology and 2 semesters of chemistry, and they get into that 3rd semester of chemistry and they realize, you know what, this isn't for me, then those 4 semesters of biology and chemistry that they took become electives because the student is going to take a different path. They're going to choose to major in French, or they're going to choose to major in anthropology. So there is some movement in what constitutes an elective, depending on a student's choices. So a student who may take that course in data science, thinking it's an elective, may ultimately choose to become a data science major. And then coursework that they took in their original area of interest, whatever it was, becomes an elective.
Great, thank you. So the second part of this question is actually for me, and there are a couple of these, and is, will the recording be available? And the answer is yes. It does take a few days for it to process and be uploaded after we get it on Zoom. I'm going to put the link in the chat here, and this is just a link back to the orientation schedule. So right now it says join here. What you will see is view recording, and that will be for the student well-being and success that we had yesterday, for Elizabeth's presentation today, and for the Thursday presentation with the Sol Center and Ursula Diamond. After we have those, they'll all be linked. So now back up here, are all of the language placement exams held during orientation?
Actually, the language placement exams have, the vast majority of them are already been offered. Students have been communicated with about those exams, and they're typically offered online. There's some that still have yet to run. We will offer one during orientation itself, and that is the Spanish exam, because we have so many people who need to take it. And the Spanish placement exam is interactive. So a student who gets the first question right gets a harder question. Then the next question comes along and it's a harder question. It's an online exam. And then the other step of the placement exam process that's done during orientation, I believe, is the Chinese and Japanese oral exam portion. The written exam portion is already done online via exams on Sakai, and your students have been connected up with those through their orientation portal. There are some of them that are certainly still running.
If the student is placed out of the third semester foreign language, do they need to take the placement test if they plan to take foreign literature?
That is it's a yes and no. So if they place out, no, they do not need, they took the AP exam, they're welcome to directly enroll in whatever the fourth semester of the language is. They do not need to take the placement exam. But I recommend that they do, because if they do, they may very well place into semester 5 or semester 6, and we want them to be in the right place. So students, particularly those who have, really solid proficiency or maybe heritage speakers, are well served to take that exam and see where the department sponsoring the exam thinks they belong. And for many students, they will actually place up farther beyond the fourth semester, which is why I think it's in their best interest to take it. But no, don't have to.
Can you touch a little, Elizabeth, on study abroad and how it factors into graduation requirements?
Absolutely. CMC offers through our Center for Global Education a variety of study abroad programs. We also have 2 domestic semester length internship programs, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Silicon Valley. And so our study abroad programs, just focusing on those, are offered through program providers, and they're generally all over the world, but most of our students study in countries that are in the developed world. They don't have to be, but that tends to be where they go. And during the COVID pandemic, our study abroad opportunities have been greatly limited by international travel restrictions. So we are super excited about relaunching study abroad and getting back to our normal numbers. About 40%, 30 or 40% of our students typically take a semester of off-campus study, whether it's DC, Silicon Valley, or abroad. And students who participate in study abroad enroll through CMC on a program where they will take courses that apply toward their CMC degree. There is an option for students to have those specific courses satisfy requirements in their curricula, depending on their choices. So I'll just give you one example. A student who wants to study abroad at the Duke program in Costa Rica will need to have a certain background in Spanish and is going to be studying environmental science. So there'll be a program in a Spanish-speaking country that is topically focused on something that is pertinent and thematic to the program, and it's all going to be in another language. So a student who wants to go on that program is most likely going to be a student who has appropriate background in Spanish and wants to major in environmental science or environmental studies. So that's sort of an example of that student is not going to get a philosophy GE. That student is not going to get a course requirement toward economics and a course requirement toward environmental science, because the program is bespoke to the theme of the program and its destination and the language in which it is offered. But for a student who is a typical CMCer, wants to do a semester abroad, they can reasonably expect to bring back 2 courses toward their major from their program abroad. That's normal. And then depending on where they study and what they want to study, the remainder would potentially cover elective courses or general education. But students need to be aware that they are going on a program that is focused and often language-based, depending on their choices. And students can do a full year in many destinations, or they can split destinations. They can do a semester in England and a semester in Spain, or a semester in Chile, and then still do our Silicon Valley or our DC programs. So they, again, depending on what you want to study and how fat you want to make your curriculum, make choices about how you want to spend your time.
Can a student possibly skip some language requirements if they did not take an AP test, but want to take the language screening test if they took 3 years in high school?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what the placement test is for. So if a student, for example, has 3 years of Spanish in high school, they would be very unlikely to place directly into Spanish 1. So they should take the placement exam, and they may place into Spanish 3, or they may place into Spanish 2 or 22, which is our accelerated 1-2 combo class. So there's an incentive for the student to place up so they have fewer courses to take that would be repetitive of content they've already completed in high school.
Okay, this is the tough one. Would you do a data science sequence at Harvey Mudd or CMC?
You cannot do a data science sequence at Harvey Mudd.
Oh, well, there you go. There's the
The
answer.
data science sequence is at CMC. It is not at Harvey Mudd.
Perfect. How is the Silicon Valley program counted toward the major, and how many courses would count?
A student pursuing the Silicon Valley program typically is studying something related to economics. They don't have to. I mean, it's open to students from any major, but they are typically econ or econ adjacent majors who pursue that program. They take one course, which is an internship, and one leadership studies course and 2 economics courses. And depending on their background in economics, those could qualify toward electives in the econ major. So if they are pursuing a leadership sequence, the leadership studies course could qualify as a course in the leadership sequence. So it just depends on what the student is studying, but students earn 4 units of credit toward graduation on that program. And depending on their major, they may have 2 or more requirements satisfied.
If there are any students or families that want to ask questions about the placement exams, if they've maybe missed one, or if they don't think they've gotten the email, who should they reach out to?
I would begin by emailing registrar@cmc.edu, and we'll direct you to the right person. Because if you missed a placement exam, say in Arabic, we will direct you to the professor who's offering the Arabic exam. If you missed a placement exam in Portuguese, we will direct you to the faculty member offering it in Portuguese. So depending on your need, we will route your request to the appropriate person.
Okay, I think that covers the questions in the chat. Just double checking. Yep, I think we got them.
All right, well, I know that there are more questions to come, and your students are going to come with questions of their own. And I know that you and your students will have lengthy, meaningful text exchanges about the answers to all of your questions. So you'll keep the conversation rolling. And as your questions occur, please know that you can always contact my office. And if we're not able to answer the question for you, we will route you to the person who can.
Great. And keep in mind, one more Zoom session that we have as part of your parent and family orientation that will take place on Thursday, this Thursday, August 11th. That is at noon Pacific time. And that is the introduction to the Saul Center for Student Opportunity. So we'll talk about internships, all kinds of opportunities, building toward what they will do after CMC. We have one more quick question. Is a student who's an athlete on a team at CMC, can they go to study abroad?
Yes, they can, provided that their sport does not split 2 semesters.
So top or winner, yeah.
It is very difficult for swimmers and basketball players to study abroad because if they prioritize participating in that season of their sport, they can take a year off. That is possible. But most of our students are dedicated to their teams, and they would prefer to be on the team than to study abroad. But for students who, for example, are, let's say, playing a spring sport, you're a tennis player, you would study abroad in the fall. If you're a fall sport athlete and you play soccer, you would study abroad in the spring.
Great.
Great.
Okay, thank you so much for your time,
Yes.
Elizabeth. Thanks for being with us today. And
All right, I'm happy to do it.
for joining us. Yes.
Welcome to the CMC family, everybody.